Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander's Corps studio with...
Ooh, I'm Alek. Hey.
Come on! That was intentional, wasn't it?
What should I say?
Last time, we actually found it last time. We finally did it last time because Eddie started where it's like, okay, and it goes, Eddie! And then last time, well, the first time, you said something else again. And then last time you finally got it just with Alek. Now we're back to square one.
I see. Okay.
Now we're back to square one, and I'm not gonna re-record this. We're just gonna keep going.
We're just gonna keep going. Okay.
So on this episode, we're gonna talk about a lot of mistakes, including all the mistakes Alex did in building this deck.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Thanks for joining me today, Alek. So what deck are we gonna be talking about of yours that you're excited to talk about?
Yeah. So Alistair the Brigadier.
All right.
It's been known that I'm not the biggest fan all the time of the Universes Beyond cards, but
fair enough.
When I started looking into this commander, I just got really, really excited.
Absolutely. It doesn't mean that there are like bad designs there too.
No,
it's just that sometimes the designs are utilized on characters that you have no idea. Are you a Doctor Who fan at all?
Well, no, that's part of the thing. I haven't had a lot of exposure to Doctor Who, so this is one of those areas where I was like, I don't know if I'll really be interacting or playing much of these cards.
Sure.
They just didn't really resonate with me.
But then you made this deck and then binged all 18 seasons of Doctor Who, or however many there are, right?
No.
Maybe
sometime, but that'll take a while.
Not yet.
We'll revisit this in like a few years.
Exactly, and it'll be probably no.
yeah, probably a no.
Anyways, sure, it's a great show for everyone out there who likes Doctor Who.
Indeed, yeah. No shame.
Okay, so what does Alistair the Brigadier do, and what drew you to want to build around it?
Yeah, so Alistair is a legendary creature, human soldier. One colorless, green, white, blue, so Bant.
Yep.
And it has two abilities. It says, whenever you cast a historic spell, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. And whenever Alistair attacks, you may pay 8 colorless. If you do, creatures you control get +X until end of turn, where X is the number of historic permanents you control.
Yep.
So a little bit of background around this. This was actually a deck that I put together for a Secret Santa event for play group that I hang out with, and one of the requests of the people that I had pulled the deck for was something printed in 2023 and something from Universes Beyond. So this is where I landed.
So check and check.
Yeah.
Well done.
And so like as I was scrolling through the list of cards, this one stood out to me as being like, that's a little bit of an interesting effect. I love historic effects just like you do in your Joyride.
When you say historic, you mean artifacts.
Yeah, artifacts. Yes, artifacts. I love artifacts.
Me too. It's not sagas?
Yeah, no. There's not enough of
some
that.
legendaries maybe, but yeah, it's artifacts.
It's artifacts, yeah, as it should be for everyone.
100%.
Yeah.
If you, just aside really quick, if you see a commander that is like built around historic, the most powerful version of the deck every single time is artifacts.
Almost
no question.
Exclusively, yes.
Like, no
100%,
question.
Yeah.
I guess the most broken, obnoxious potential version potentially too.
That's probably more accurate.
There's a Venn diagram. There's some crossover depending on how you build it, but yeah.
Yeah.
All right, anyways, continue.
So some additional context then, too, is that the deck needed to be at a $30 budget range for this event. So,
sure.
Pretty significantly lower on the cost scale than what I'm used for, even for this show.
Sure.
So me trying to find a reasonable deck was a little bit of a challenge. But between these two abilities for Alistair, the thing that struck me was like mana rocks might be really beneficial. Not only because casting mana rocks gets you your soldiers, but it also feeds towards being able to more reliably activate Alistair's ability when they get to attacking.
100%.
So just ramp with all the rocks, and you generate an army and pump the army. So it seemed perfect for this.
Sounds like fun. I mean, except you're in green and you're not utilizing, just rampant growth effects. So you're kind of breaking the law right there a little bit.
Just a little bit. Don't arrest me yet. So as far as like then taking that step, like feeding a lot into those rock effects. I think the deck, my list ended up having like almost 20 mana rocks in total.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and
as the best decks do, it's just ramp some more.
Yeah, I mean, we've all played green players that do that, so it's just
but now
that's what happens.
You're a green player that's ramping with rocks, though, so you're doing something different.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, and you of course, like the deck has its standards, you know, like these signets, Azorius Signet or whatever. Just like, you know, it's a 2 mana drop that helps cast Alistair earlier. Makes it easy to get those colors in, but then also was able to utilize some rocks to kind of like help cover some of the areas that maybe didn't have as much space for.
Sure.
So, you know, I was able to help draw with cards like Bonder's Ornament, which is a 3 mana rock that taps for 1 mana of any color, but you can also pay 4 and tap it to have any player who controls a permanent named Bonder's Ornament to draw a card. So it's pretty inefficient as far as card draw goes, but because it covers both the element of a mana rock and draw, I can get away with it a little bit.
And it's quite budget friendly at 8 cents. So.
Exactly. Yeah.
That can help.
And same thing with like cards like Magnifying Glass that was actually just reprinted here in Murders of Markov Manor. And that not only does it provide like a means to draw, but also produces a clue token, which then plays into the historic permanent effect of Alistair itself.
That's true, yeah, because it doesn't specify non-token then, I guess, right?
Right, exactly. And then had a few options for additional utility. So like Sonic Screwdriver from the Doctor Who set was nice because not only is it a mana rock, but it also has the function to untap other artifacts, scry even if I needed that, or target, or have a creature can't be blocked, which actually was really important for protecting Alistair himself. And then there was and then there was some small additional utility for removal, so like Unstable Obelisk, which was been a mana rock for a while since some of like the earlier Commander precons, and it's pretty pricey, but you can pay 7 into it to sacrifice it and destroy any permanent. So just again, additional utility that allowed me to get that mana rock number closer to 20 and just keep that as a theme.
Well, it's one of the balancing games of building a deck like that, because again, typically, I mean, not that you need like an exact science toward building a deck, but it helps to kind of sometimes have just like a blueprint, like, hey, 10 mana or 10 ramp, 10 removal, 10 card draw, like that kind of stuff essentially. And so, yeah, obviously when you're like turning the number up on mana rocks to 20, you need to find other ways to kind of fill up some of those gaps that you might be taking away from.
For sure. So the main strategy then was to get Alistair out as soon as possible and then just start dropping rocks as quickly as you could to build up your army and also build up your mana base per se. So, and then of course the payoffs to that included similar effects, or like doubling up on the effects of Alistair, for example, like Psi Master Thopterist, which additionally benefited you from casting artifact spells by producing colorless Thopter artifact flyers, which again not only increased the number of creatures that you could get from casting your rocks, but also added more to the artifact count.
100%. And I do want to apologize to everyone out there if I'm slow on getting to the card, because I'm trying to scroll down without scrolling too far.
Right.
I missed poor old Psy the first go round, so I'm just like staring like, where are you?
Where's Psy?
Alex lying to me. It's not in this deck. Sorry, continue.
But then also like cards like Peregrine Took, which similarly, whenever you create a token, then you create an additional food token. Again, more artifacts. And then Peregrine Took also had the functionality of, these food tokens don't really do a lot to impact the board, but you can sacrifice a few of them.
Food players out there take offense to that. They love gaining that 3 life.
That is true, yeah.
But sacrificing 3 of them instead of gaining 9 and drawing a card is better.
Yes.
So.
Had that additional utility. And then there were also ways of like further increasing that historic account just simply by playing more legendary creatures. You could play legendary land, like artifact lands, so Tanglepool Bridge and those artifact lands that were indestructible from.
Love those.
Was that Modern Horizons 2?
I think that's right.
Played a significant role just to pump the team that much further. One particularly awesome all-star on this deck was Thousand Moons Smithy.
Let me see if I can find this.
Yeah, that was from
there we go.
Lost Caverns of Ixalan.
Yep.
For those not familiar, that's a 2 colorless white legendary artifact, of course. that says when it enters the battlefield, create a white gnome soldier artifact creature token with this creature's power and toughness are each equal to the number of artifacts and or creatures you control. So with this deck, they were absolutely massive.
Yeah.
But it also had the additional ability that at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, you may tap 5 untapped artifacts and or creatures you control, and if you do, you transform this card. And then it becomes a legendary artifact land that can tap for white, but more importantly, or in addition, whenever you cast an artifact or creature spell using the mana produced by this new land, you create another one of those tokens.
Huge.
So, would often see, gnome creature tokens like entering like at 30/30s with this particular
just
deck,
one shots that again get even bigger when you utilize Alistair's ability too.
Yeah, totally. So saw a lot of mileage out of this particular card.
Absolutely.
The one thing that this deck did struggle with was card draw.
Sure.
And we talked before about like me utilizing some of those mana rocks before as like pseudo draws. They just ended up not being super efficient. So there were a few in the deck that were trying to benefit off of the small army of soldiers I was creating. Like Distant Melody was a good example.
Love that card.
Where you get like 5 soldiers on the battlefield plus Alistair, so 4 mana, draw 6 cards was pretty strong. Just didn't have quite enough of that, so I was hoping to in future iterations of the deck to improve that particular area.
Absolutely.
So those were the main things that like was supporting the deck, helping build up. But the thing that I was really excited about this deck was I was able to include a few combos in it that I originally wasn't expecting to be able to include, but ended up being like a pretty cool element of the deck. The first one was Paradoxical Outcome.
That card is grossly amazing.
Yes. So that is a blue instant, 3 and a blue, that says return any number of target non-land, non-token permanents you control to their owner's hands, and then you draw a card for each card returned to your hand this way. So given that the game plan was just to get Alistair out, play as many rocks as you could to generate an army, it did seem like that was going to be a thing where it just generated an army really slowly. So I wanted an element to be able to just kind of like drop a big giant bomb of an army all at once. And this card kind of enabled for that, because not only would this allow you to kind of like reset your mana rocks and be able to regenerate that army, I also included a few cards that reduce the cost of artifacts or colorless spells in general, like Ethereum Sculptor and Ugin the Ineffable.
That card is just gross.
And so...
And of course I just scrolled too far trying to find it.
Right.
There we go. Ugin.
And so casting the Paradoxical Outcome, or the other option like Rebuild, which did basically the same thing for artifacts, allowed you to pick up all your mana rocks at once and then drop them down without really needing much time or mana to do so.
You just dump them back.
Sometimes they would be completely free.
Yep. Can be a ritual effect for you, essentially, if you just tapped out all your mana rocks and then floated mana.
Exactly.
And then,
and then all of a sudden, sometimes you'd have like 10 1/1s that come out of that all of a sudden out of nowhere. So that was fun. And it even allowed for a few different like combos within that as well. Temporal Fissure was a fun addition to the deck.
That's one of my favorite cards of all time. And, it's a little salt-inducing, but it really shouldn't be, because
a little bit,
the game's just over. Just accept that the game is over. All right, I bounced all your lands.
It was like kind of like a build your own Cyclonic Rift with a little
with
bit
lands.
of mass land destruction.
It's not destruction. I'm giving you lands. I'm just repurposing your lands back to your hand. Just giving them back. Yeah. Game's over if that happens. Okay, like just quit.
Yeah, it's just done.
Just quit. Just quit. That is a legitimate way to win the game, because Temporal Fissure can also be utilized to just bounce your own things.
Yeah.
It just happens to also just be a game-winning card when you like cast 30 spells on a turn and then that. Which is fair.
Makes sense.
Completely fair, and I will hear nothing about in the comments below.
The deck is $30. It's fine.
I've learned that that is not an excuse. My Joyer deck never got past with that excuse.
That's true.
This deck is $25. Now I'm going to take a 40-minute turn.
Yeah. Well, and like to that effect, this deck building, stipulation didn't really care about like the cost of individual cards, which allowed me actually to fit Hullbreaker Horror in this deck as well.
Oh,
which
gross.
Similarly,
$3.21.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So similarly with the cost reducers, any 2 mana rocks that could be cost reduced down to 0, or even 1, depending on how they tap for mana for themselves, would just be infinite, and then you would just bounce every, or you would just create an infinite number.
Soul Ring essentially plus any other one is
100%.
Nearly there, if not just there.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, just made, a couple of infinite combos really an interesting element to this deck that, I didn't really anticipate originally.
Completely fair.
Just fun to add.
Yeah.
Taking a little bit more complicated, though, I was also able to fit in a Teshar Blasting Station combo.
All right, let's see if I can find Teshar.
And so this originated off of me putting in Teshar as a legendary creature and a recursion element, just because, again, cares about historic permanents or spells, and recurs. And the more I was like digging into it and knowing that I had a Teshar deck for a little bit of time, I wonder if I could actually fit this in, and lo and behold, I could. Blasting Station, of course, took up the majority of my budget. I was going to say
that is a giant amount of budget. There, I literally just found Blasting Station. Took me 3 minutes. I'm sorry, everyone out there. I finally found Blasting Station. There you go. So Blasting Station, tap sacrifice creature, 1 damage creature player. When it comes into play, you may untap Blasting Station. Kind of like a tap artifact version of what's the Goblin one? Bombardment. Kind of ish.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And so, realizing that it wouldn't really take away too much from like the core element of the deck, and having a really strong surprise way of ending the game in another infinite way was really appealing, especially given the power that of the decks I was seeing at this event.
Absolutely.
People were going infinites on turn 4. I felt much better
about
including this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So those that are not familiar with the Teshar Blasting Station combo, I can explain it here. It's a little bit complicated sometimes. So the combo is that you have, the traditional combo is that you have Ornithopter in hand, you have a tapped Blasting Station on the battlefield, Teshar on the battlefield, and your Mere Retriever in the graveyard.
Hey, it's under 99. It's 99 cents now.
Yeah, that was exciting.
Yes.
So the way the process goes is you cast your Ornithopter. That triggers Teshar. So Teshar then returns the Mere Retriever from your graveyard to the battlefield, which then triggers Blasting Station. Now, you untap your Blasting Station, and then the Ornithopter enters the battlefield and triggers Blasting Station again.
Yep.
With that trigger on the stack, then you activate the station, sacrificing the Ornithopter. Then you finish resolving the untapped station trigger. Then you activate the station again, sacrificing the Mere Retriever, then triggering the Mere Retriever itself to put your Ornithopter back in hand, and then you rinse and repeat for infinite damage and also infinite Alistair tokens from your Ornithopter cast in case like something happens where like someone has like a 1 ring in play. You've got infinite 1/1s anyway. In addition, Alistair works really well with this combo as well, because you can also use Mishra's Bauble to go infinite as well.
Now I gotta go find Mishra's Bauble.
Yeah.
There we go, got it.
And that basically replaces the Ornithopter, since Alistair's cast trigger creates a token.
That's so smart. I like that.
So in that case, basically you replace the Bauble with the Ornithopter and basically go through that process again. And that results in infinite damage, but also infinite draws on the next upkeep.
Oh yeah,
from the Mishra's Bauble.
So you better get there with the infinite damage.
Yeah, you kind of have to be careful like how much you're actually drawing. So
very true.
And in addition, because we've included the cost reducers, this also works with any artifact creature reduced to 0 by cost reducer effects. Or any artifact reduced to 0 by cost reducers effects with Alistair in play.
Jeez.
So,
there were a lot of different ways. It opens up quite a bit.
Yeah, quite a lot of different possibilities. And like Blasting Station is not a great removal spell, but assuming that you've got a fair number of, tokens lying around at any given point, you can kind of like ping down a larger creature with enough time.
100%. Or just a player space, player move.
Yeah, that works too.
Yeah,
so, but the reason that like I was particularly excited about this deck, and also what took me so long to actually like land on an actual build, was that this deck can just go in so many different directions.
100%.
Again, I talked about before where like card draw was a little bit of a weak point in the deck, and so future iterations or improvements on the deck would lead a lot into that. So like including a card like Kindred Discovery would be amazing for soldiers.
That's only 482 now?
Yeah.
Wow.
So like, sure, it's not budget by this.
I mean, but taking up a sixth of your budget, but you can make up for in other places.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or if like you decide you don't like the blasting station combo.
Yep.
This would be a good, potential improvement.
That's a good point.
So like basically then any mana rock that you drop is a draw.
Which is crazy.
But then also like some new cards from Murder of Markov Manor were also like really great for this. Forensic Gadgeteer, for example, was an amazing.
Yeah.
You cast an artifact spell, you investigate, so you get 2 for 1 as far as the artifacts go for historic permanents, but then gives you that draw ability and also reduces all of your artifact activation costs. Not only the clues, but also like, again, Bonder's Ornament now costs 3 in tap instead
or the food that you're making with Peregrine Took. There you go.
Right. What 1 mana to gain 3 life is game changing. It's amazing. Oh my god.
We broke it. It's like healing self now.
I'd rather just keep the food around forever and pump my team. But then also like Officious Interrogation is a fun card.
Oh yeah.
Because and that is a white and blue instant, and then you can pay more mana into it to like copy it for
call the copper codes essentially, but for investigation.
Exactly. Yeah. And then, but the important thing is that you can choose yourself for this spell.
I didn't even think about that. Choose the target players. Oh gosh.
Yeah. So assuming that you've got a bunch of tokens lying
around, no.
Now all of a sudden you double.
That's gross. I love it.
The number of like it gives you a bunch of like draw elements, but also again increases your historic permanence. You could do this with Alistair's ability on the stack.
Yeah,
you're attacking, and all of a sudden you're doubling your damage.
And again, with all those mana rocks, you're going to have the mana to actually pull something big like this off, whereas your opponents have no idea that you are playing basically like a combat tricks of some weird sort, essentially. And they're like, oh, they're doing, oh no, I'm gone.
Yeah. It becomes like an alpha strike out of nowhere.
Exactly. It's like, oh, I let that one Thopter through. I'm done. I'm just gone. Yeah.
But like you can also like play into the lands. Like again, my budget didn't allow me to play much more than a couple of the artifact lands and mostly basics. But you talk about the original Mirrodin artifact lands like Ancient Den, Seat of the Synod. You can add that. Some of actually the new lands as well from Murders of Markov Manor from the Clue edition are relevant. So like Conservatory. Again, it's just like a tap dual land, but it investigates. So again, just another way of creating more historic permanents.
Now, is it a land or is it a room? It looks more like a room to me.
It's both.
Sure, I'm sorry, there's like a subtype of room.
That's actually a good point.
Yeah.
We should petition WotC for that. Yeah, that needs to be a change.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you've got like an enchantment, like rooms you control tap for twice as much.
Yeah.
There you go. After you solve the mystery.
Right. But then you could always also like blow the bank a little bit and go into legendary lands as well. Pendelhaven actually surprisingly works pretty well with this if you want to do a little bit of a increased pump on your creatures, but like you can obviously go big with Beseju and Otawara for additional functionality.
Yes.
If you've got the money.
If you want to drop,
if
you want to drop as much money as the deck is in total in 1 or 2 cards.
Yeah. Of course. But it just adds more power to the deck from individual 100%. Cards that you wouldn't otherwise see in a deck. And obviously there's ways of improving the rocks themselves too. I had to work with a large number of 3 mana rocks, cutting down to a more manageable number of 2 mana rocks to get Alistair out on turn 3. That would be really helpful. Like cards like Liquid Metal Torque have additional surprising functionality. Being able to tap and make something an artifact on your side that isn't already an artifact can have a significant pump across your team.
You can change the combat math without opponents even realizing it, essentially.
Exactly.
Because what you do is you hide the Liquid Metal Torque underneath other cards.
Right. Yeah.
And then as soon as they're about to make a block, then you pull it out. And
Nobody does that. Nobody does that.
I'm kidding. Do not do that.
Who does that out there? But even like heraldic banners. Again, more ways to pump the
That's
team.
$150 right now. Come on,
that's
reprint
a
that
little
again,
sad.
Watsy.
It needs to be reprinted.
That's such a good card.
I think they just reprinted it.
I think they did.
Oh,
Goodness gracious.
if only.
Mm-hmm.
But if you wanted to take things in a significantly different variation than I did, again, I was a little bit more combo oriented. Soldiers, obviously have a lot of important theme elements. Some important cards were printed during the Brothers War.
So yeah, they've got more support lately.
Yeah, like Harbin, Vanguard, Aviator just makes again the combat math better. Sky Strike Officer is really good because you can tap your soldiers to draw cards.
Oh yeah,
really important for there. And then like you can just also do some like general lord effects like Captain of the Watch. More ways of pumping the team.
That shuts down Pendlehaven though, so
that is true. Yeah, we really wouldn't want to impact that too much.
My legendary land, which already gives me value,
right?
It's giving me slightly less now.
And that could potentially also lead you into the direction of just doing more general token support as well, just to make each individual token more impactful. So like Flowering of the White Tree, again, a little bit more pricey than typical budget, but really important to not only help you protect your commander a little bit, but pump your team. Horn of Gondor, just exponentially increasing your army size.
Cranko on a horn.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Even like Inspiring Leader being really fun, where as long as Alistair's out, your creatures get +2/+2, and not only that, it's a legendary enchantment.
I forgot that that's actually legendary too. Yeah.
And again, talking about breaking the bank, Osier talk,
just a little bit. Settled around 18. Yeah, great.
We're hoping that maybe one day that
only $18.
Only 18, no problem. Just like completely destroying your budget at that point.
Oh yeah.
But this all just combines into being a deck that I was just really, really excited to build and had a ton of fun seeing it play. That and I could legitimately build like 3 or 4 different versions of this deck,
which is so cool.
Really happy with how it came out. So
well, and it's like kind of it's a theme that you know and that you understand and that you love, but also it's a different kind of iteration on that too, which is just nice to see too.
Yeah. Next, maybe we'll get a 4-pod together of all different versions of Alistair.
Fantastic.
Be amazing.
Absolutely. Mine's going to be Storm.
Yeah, of course it is. I'm not surprised at all.
And then I'll play it once, and then I'll take it apart because I will have felt bad.
I can't wait.
Oh yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be great.
Right.
Yeah. There's 2 other cards in here I just want to make sure we highlight real quick. Rise and Shine. Absolutely love that card. Yeah. That's just another kind of just fun, like out of nowhere, take your opponents out. They think that, okay, they just wipe the board, right? They just Wrath of God. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, my mana rocks are here. So yoink.
Yeah, that's true. And March of the Machines plays that same role too. If you wanted to go that direction of more of a surprise attack than what most people might expect. And again, Alistair's ability doesn't care whether or not they were artifacts to begin with, so they, ability pumps itself too.
100%. That's really cool. Yeah, fantastic deck. I love the design. Love that it's budget friendly. Without Osier talk and all those things. But I'll make sure I include the link in the description below. Though, thanks again for joining me today, Alek.
Of course.
And of course, as always, well, let Alek know what your thoughts are on the deck and the comments
please.
below. Blame Eddie if you didn't like it. And thanks again, and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.